Hi folks, it's Zach and welcome back to my Star Wars gaming channel, and today we are talking about the SWTOR Roadmap, the Autumn Update. So this just came out yesterday from Keith Kennick. He's one of the game producers, and he just basically wanted players to know, if you saw this on the forums or if you went to Dilfy.net, you'd see the same message, that basically they've been prepping the roadmap to be available on Monday, October 2nd. This is good. That lets players know what is coming up. That's kind of the whole purpose of the roadmaps, is to kind of let players know the release schedule of the different expansions, what they'll or the different parts of the expansions, what they'll include, things to look forward to, sale items that are coming up, etc. And, with Keith, he said, I know with the last roadmap, I gave you tidbits of information along the way, but this time they wanted to release the whole thing. He promises it'll make a lot of sense, and he cannot wait to hear our feedback. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you straight up, this is kind of a frustrating message to get. Why is that? It's kind of like getting the trailer to the trailer of the movie that you want to see that comes out 2 years from now. It feels like artificial hype a little bit, where they're trying to get you excited about something, but it's still not the actual content. They're trying to get you excited about the release notes to the content that they haven't released yet. You know what I'm saying? If you guys don't get frustrated by this, I understand. That's great. If you do get frustrated about this, believe me, I definitely understand. It's really trying to get you excited about the promise of something to come that we're not really sure how it'll actually be executed, but we have hope. So, what does this mean for Star Wars: The Old Republic? Well, recently, I released a video called "Is SWTOR Dead?" and you guys responded in force, and I love you guys for it. I made several bullet points that I believe were pretty logical points on pointing out how any game can be shown as being alive or dead, and you guys brought up one really key element that I missed in my video, and I want to give you guys a lot of credit for explaining it to me and really making a great case for it. And the element that I missed was the release schedule of new content. I had talked about player support, dev support, financial support for the game, but you guys brought up the release schedule, and I actually thought that is an excellent sign that this game is struggling a bit. I hate having to admit it, but we're just going to go out and say it. The game is definitely struggling. If you look at Final Fantasy XIV, or if you look at Guild Wars 2, both of which are the competitors for Star Wars: The Old Republic in terms of fairly easy to play, fairly on the cheaper side MMOs, which either use a subscription model or a free-to-play model, and both of those games just came out with huge expansions. Stormblood was unbelievable for Final Fantasy XIV. That's a really cool game, and that expansion gave you new story, new zones, it gave you 2 new job classes to play. Guild Wars 2 had a new job class ability for every single one of the major classes. It had new areas, it had new story. I mean, both of these were really meaty expansions, and Star Wars has not had a very meaty expansion since Revan. Since we actually did the Shadow of Revan. That's kind of painful. What we've had were 2 big story expansions, and we've had little bits of like Flashpoint content here, little like 2 raid bosses there, a little bit of PvP content here, but nothing all really wrapped up in one big package. And when you guys, one of my viewers put out a timeline of what the release schedule looked like for Star Wars, and that was a really great analytical tool to show, wow, yeah, you're right. This has really slowed down a lot. So what do we need right now with this roadmap update? We need something kind of big. I can tell you, because all the feedback I was getting from my videos showed that there's some really diehard players out there, but there's also a lot of low morale. And I think, from what I have, when I've commented over to the devs and other people have commented to the devs, I can hope that they've listened and we can see 2 possible outcomes of what is in this next roadmap. First and foremost, let's talk about the negative. Let's get that out of the way. The worst of the scenarios of what we see on Monday is that they're trying to keep us hyped while announcing things that will really upset us. And I'm talking poor release schedules of the new raid bosses, or a really big pitch on like, hey guys, get really excited about these new cartel market items, or God forbid, we're bringing back the DVL event. Like, Jesus Christ. Everybody would be jumping off the ship and just be like, that's it. That would seriously kill this game. Basically any rehash of old materials or events, none of that would really make us feel very good as players. And if they try to wrap any of that in a bow to say, like, you should be excited about regrinding through all of these things that you've already ground through before, that's it. I think at that point, many of the current players, even if they're diehards, will abandon ship. Because I remember DVL, I spent about a week and a half doing DVL. I got everything done that I wanted to. I had a really great plan ahead of time, so I didn't grind through it. But I know some people who did, and geez Louise, what a grind. I did like some of the rewards, the Victorious Pioneers armor set, which gives a ridiculous 50% XP bonus. It basically replaced every armor leveling set I had. But yeah, it was kind of a pill to swallow, where you're like, I'm just basically replaying the game I've already played for 5 years. And if they announce something like that in the roadmap, that what's coming up from October to December for the rest of the year is basically, let's get you to play stuff you've already played through before and try to put a big smiley face on it, that would suck, and everybody would have a real big reason to be pissed. Now, on the positive side of thing, if on October the 2nd, if they've heard our feedback and they are really passionate about getting some new content out to us, then hopefully we would see something that we really are looking for. This would be finishing off the IOKF raid with an actual timetable and saying, like, yes, this will be finished by this time, you'll be able to play these bosses, get in there and have some fun. We'll open this up in the PTS for players to test and have a great time with. If they announce some really juicy PvP, like a couple new maps or something cool with that, another new Flashpoint would be awesome. Anything that would be, or actually, I would even say this: if they were going to bring out something replayable, but it was something like the story missions from 1 to 50, where now you don't have to re-level up a character to see those missions. You could just replay them like you did through Knights of the Fallen Empire, Knights of the Eternal Throne, and just see what the different choices would be. I'd actually be okay with that too. I don't know how that would look, but I would love that. Or just a cutscene rewatch or something like that. Movie mode. I actually would appreciate that feature. I'm just saying that would be kind of nice. Any one of those things I think would actually still be pretty good. Now, is that what SWTOR needs? Now I'm going into the second half of my video. So that was all the first part was about the roadmap. We don't know what's really coming. We know that they're trying to keep us excited. If they keep trying to sell us something, though, that we have already played through before and try to put a positive spin on it, people are going to be pretty upset. On the other hand, if they do actually stick to their guns, give us things that they've been promising for a while, and give us some concrete timetables, I think we'll be pretty happy. But what does Star Wars really need? Really, right now, they need to be competitive with some of the other games that are out there, because Star Wars is getting a little long in the tooth, and to keep players interested, you've got to release something that is going to get players excited. You need players to come back to the game. You need players who are new to come in and be excited about the game. Really, I've talked about some of these things before, but I'll just repeat them here. The number one thing that I believe would bring this game back from the brink would be some new character classes, and my pitches are always the same ones. I would love to see droids, and I would love to see Grey Jedis, and both of them just start them off as hero classes at max level. Done and done. You bring in some new classes into the game. As obvious, most new classes will probably be ridiculously overpowered, but they're fun to play, and playing a new class even makes some old content fun because you're playing on that new class. It's a whole brand new way of looking things. Make your droid class be able to be a tank, healer, and a DPS. It has one of each in the 3 branches, something unique to any of the other classes in the game. Bring that Grey Jedi, do the same thing. Let them use force powers that are light and dark. Let them be a tank, healer, or DPS, depending on how you spec them out. And, you could even use the Kulian Knights, who were, formerly from the Eternal Empire. They're not really light, they're not really dark. You could even bring them in and then make them choose a faction. The other thing that I would say would definitely be a big Hail Mary save for the game right now is the announcement of some new raids. And I know that's only one segment of the end game players right now in Star Wars The Old Republic, but I would say that they're some of the most passionate players, and they're kind of the glue that holds the game together. Now follow me on this. With Raiders, it's a group sport. You have to group up with other players, and that community and camaraderie is one of the things that makes this MMO sticky. It's one of the things that makes players stay in, is when you find people you like playing with and you have something to play with them. The less raids we have, the more players just kind of abandon it to other things because the game has gotten less interesting. And the only thing that's pulling these friends together a lot of times is the game that they play. So I would say this game could really use the announcement of some really good new endgame raids. Now that being said, the other thing I would say would really save the neck of this game would be to just, instead of just doing a new class or new raids, I would say they need to throw a huge Hail Mary and announce a whopping large expansion on par of what we're seeing with the competitive games. We would need to see an expansion with a big bad who's worthy of the title. My vote, if you watch my Crisis on Umbara video, would be Malgus. I think that would be an awesome villain to come on back and make a headliner for an X pack. You know, we would also need to see some new planets, maybe things like Kashyyyk, which we still haven't seen yet, or exploring the origins of some of these ancient races like the Rakata. You know, see some new classes, etc. But if they announce something like that, that would be something to truly be excited for. That would be something that would breathe a breath of fresh air into the game, and it would answer a lot of questions. How invested are the developers in, to making this game continue and making this game keep moving forward? Anyway, guys, what do you think? What do you think they're going to announce on October the 2nd? Write that down in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Also, what do you think would be the best thing to keep this game going, keep this game alive? If it was to have a breath of fresh air, what do you think needed to be included to make that happen? The best posts I get, I'll try to send over to the devs and see if we can let them know what you guys are thinking. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. That lets me know you enjoy this content, and I will see you next time.